Let's give a couple more seconds for everyone to join in, and we'll get started. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arizona Xamarin Mono Cross-Platform Applications Group. This was a group that was organized by Les, and right now we're trying to bring him back. I think that there is a huge power in community, and especially now that with everything that is happening in the Microsoft ecosystem, and especially with the unification of all .NET and .NET MAUI, it's a great moment to bring back this user group and start giving talks. I will ask everyone who is participating if they can mute their microphone so we can let the speaker talk. Today we have a great talk. We're going to be talking about NET MAUI, and NET MAUI became a RC1 release candidate like 2 days ago. So that's a great thing, because that means that there will not be any more breaking changes. Hopefully they're going to be bug fixes and have the framework ready for GA. A couple of things that I want to point out. This is the Sam Basu newsletter about Son of Maui, and right there are a lot of great things saying about NET MAUI, Gerald Versus. If you follow him on YouTube, there is a lot of great examples about it. The Ed Taberner, there is actually the one who is leading the Blazor team at Telerix, also talking about the possibilities with Maui Blazor, and of course, Maddie Montaquila, that she's always promoting everything in Maui. So a lot of great things coming. Jane Montemagno as well, he created a workshop where he walked us through creating an application with .NET MAUI. So please review those resources. Now, let's get to the main topic of today. Today, I want to thank Rendy del Rosario here. Rendy is an MVP and has been an MVP actually for a few years now. He has more than 50 years of experience in .NET, and especially in the enterprise and mobile application. Very passionate about Xamarin. His blog was in one of the top 60 blogs, and actually was after the official blog. It was Charlin and then him. So that's awesome that he's able to share all this knowledge with the community. So really appreciate that. I met him in the Xamarin Summit in Houston a few years back. So I'm really happy to have him here, and he's going to be discussing everything that is going on in the Xamarin Maui world. Actually, his blog is called Samboy, and I think that probably he will be changing that to Maui Boy or something like that. Same thing with Charlin. So that is a great amount of information here. A lot of he takes his time to give us a really walkthrough of everything right now. This is a good post about State Machine. So I know Rendy for a few years, but Rendy, for everyone here that is like, most probably everyone in the Xamarin community knows who you are, but for everyone else that is just starting with Maui, if you want to kind of introduce yourself, and then you can get started on the session.
Yeah, I think I'm having some.
Yeah, it seems like he's having some issues with his connection. Let's wait for just a second. In the meantime, we can briefly discuss the release candidate. I think that just Debbie Orton out the blog post that Debbie Orton out, and how is that what is already there for us. And if you see, there is a lot of layouts good there already. All the carousel views and all those controls that they were not before, they are already there for us to use. Hopefully, Rendy's connection improves soon, and then we go from there. As always, feel free to ask questions on the chat, or even we are not too much, and that's a good thing, because we can just unmute ourselves and just have a discussion about everything that is coming. Rendy, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I also want to point out that for next
One
month,
second, I'll rejoin it because it seems that I'm
yeah, please. In the meantime, we're gonna have another great talk next month about Blazor Architecture Panel with Jeffrey Palermo. He has a great presentation where he talks about the complete architecture of Blazor, saying so how many repositories used in your source control, how to organize your DevOps environment, how the Blazor architecture fits and when you're hosting and with Azure App Service. So he gives a really nice walkthrough. So I'm really looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Has anyone here been using Maui already? Feel free to even unmute or put it on the chat. We started using when it was just CLI, and then we have to uninstall everything. And then when it came to Visual Studio, it was a little better, but it was still, the tooling was not at the same speed as the framework. Right now, it's a lot more smooth. So, I think that Rendy is back. Yeah, RC1 is here already, 2 days ago. Hopefully, in the next couple of months, the COVID nightmare allows to start doing in-person events again.
okay. I think I'm back now. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
We can.
Okay, perfect. So today we are going to talk a little bit about Maui, what it is and what it means. My name, as Jose said, is Rendy Rosario, also known as Samboy. I write a lot in that blog about challenging stuff that has challenged me in the past. So just to remember how hard that stuff was, I just leave it on my blog. Also, here's my Twitter, where you can follow me and let me know if you have any issues or anything, just ping me there. Also, we are co-organizers of a community, local community in my country called .NET Dominicana, where we basically cover topics related to Microsoft and .NET. Charlin was supposed to be here, but she won't be able to join today, so you are stick with me. So what's .NET multi-platform app UI, or also called as Maui? .NET Maui is the evolution of Xamarin Forms that the main target is mobile and desktop, that is basically focused on performance and extensibility. Currently, the plan is to support iOS, Android, macOS, and Windows. I think there are some other targets, but it's more community support than Microsoft. How Maui works. Basically, it's different layers. So we have the native layer or platform layer, how you could call it, where we will have Android, iOS, macOS, Windows, basically the native platforms that we target. Also, after this layer, we have the mono runtime. In the case of Windows, the Win32. on the above layer.NET BCL. And after that, we have the .NET libraries for each of the platforms. .NET Android, .NET iOS, .NET Mac, and WinUI in case of Windows. It's basically a mapping from the native libraries, but now we have it in C#, the language that we all love. Then we have .NET MAUI, which is basically an abstraction of all those .NET framework for specific platforms, so that we can have abstraction of the controls and navigation, so that we can do everything in common code and we can share almost 95% of our code. The goals for MAUI, or main focus, is quality, performance, design, and platforms. I already talked about the platforms that they will cover. Also, the design, it's supposed to be a platform that will make everything easier related to UI and extending controls in a way that we can make our apps looks nicer, but in a very easy way. Also, performance, it's one of their goals, because Xamarin Forms has been very criticized in the past because of performance. And obviously that has improved over the years, but MAUI improves that even more. Also, the quality, obviously, it's always important to have a quality framework, so that's something that they are focused on. If we do a quick comparison, I think this is on the MAUI repo GitHub of the things that MAUI offers and what Xamarin Forms 5 have. One of the things that we can see is the renderers. The renderers were a concept to provide native UI into Xamarin Forms in a way that we can basically access the native APIs and do customization. But they have a problem. They were tightly coupled to bindable object. On MAUI, it will be loosely coupled, no core dependencies, and the concept that will actually interact with those native APIs will be handlers, which is more simpler than render and a more clean design. Also, the app models that you were familiar, MVVM, React UI, those also will be covered in MAUI, but also it has MVU as an experimental option to do your app model. One of the main difference also we can see is the single project. Instead of having 3 projects as we used to do if we were targeting iOS and Android, now we just have one. Multi-targeting, because we target multiple platforms within the same project. Multi-window. Multi-window and single project are really important stuff, because if you see all the cross-platform frameworks out there, they don't support multi-window. Flutter doesn't support it. React Native doesn't support it. And single project, MAUI, it's the only one that has single projects. So those two are important because are differential aspects in the framework. Also, pixel drawn controls. I think this is to catch up other frameworks that basically Flutter basically draw every control that you see on the screen. So you will have this option on MAUI in a very easy way, and we're using very easy APIs. Other thing is that is based off .NET 6. And those are kind of the main points there. So talking about the single project, before we have what we see on the left, and if we do a Xamarin Forms project today, or we have one already, we will see that we generally will have 2 projects, 3 for Android and iOS, if we are targeting mobile, and the app project, which is the Xamarin Forms common project. But in MAUI, things will change a bit since we will still have access to native stuff by a folder called platforms. That's where we will have our native code for every specific platform for Android, iOS, Windows, or macOS if we are targeting desktop. Multi-targeting. This is a really important stuff because now we can, even from Windows, run an iPhone, Android, Windows within the same project without having to select, okay, let me put iOS as start project or let me run iOS. No, the same project, you can run right there, picking just what phone or what emulator you want to run. Also, there's a lot of resource sharing. I think this was one of the pain points of Xamarin, that we couldn't share resources. We had to duplicate resources in each platform that we were going to support. So it's very interesting that Maui now allow us to share fonts, images, and even splash screen. I think, I'm not sure if that's already released, but I know that's part of the plan. Also, as I told about the renderers, since Maui has evolved this architecture into a decoupled one, instead of using renderers, we now have handlers, which depends on an interface. For example, in the case of a button, it will be iButton, so that it is totally decoupled and not tightly coupled by the model we have before with custom renderers. So how we build Maui UI is exactly the same as how we did it in the past or nowadays with Xamarin Forms. That hasn't changed at all. So everything you know about XAML, everything you know about MVVM is mostly the same. To migrate our apps in from Xamarin Forms to .NET MAUI, there are some steps that we need to go through. The first one is use the .NET upgrade assistance for .NET MAUI. That will migrate basically the project and perform the changes of the namespaces. The second step is update any dependencies to .NET 6 and any all .NET MAUI compatible versions. Also, register the compatibility for services and renderers. So renderers are still supported in .NET MAUI, so you don't have to migrate right away to handlers, but you need to register them for compatibility. Also, build and fix any issues, run the converted app, and verify that everything functions correctly. So to migrate, we will see here how to migrate some of the stuff that we have on Xamarin Forms, like the behaviors. We just need to change namespaces. That's basically it. The converter, same, just change namespaces. Triggers, no change needed. Custom renderers, then that's a bit more of work, but it's more simpler than what a custom renderer was. It's kind of less code. There's an article here that I just put about Javier, I think Javier Suarez. Yeah, he did an article on how to migrate a custom renderer into a custom handler. Also, you can use, obviously, the renderers, just register it through this compatibility option, and that way you don't have to migrate right away. Another important thing is that we have the Maui Essentials, which is basically the evolved version of the Xamarin Essentials. It has mostly the same that the Xamarin Essentials has, but it targets the Maui's APIs. We have everything that you will expect from the essentials there. Another thing, and I think really interesting, that we have coming with Maui, it's the ability of having a Blazor app, using Blazor basically to build a mobile application. I think this is really interesting because you will be able to combine and even share code between web and mobile if you go this route. You can even do it just for one screen, one specific page, or just host your whole app using Blazor. Another interesting thing is that we have this library called Maui Graphics, which is basically the essentials if you want to do any drawing, any fonts, attributes, attributed text, bitmap, PDF, stuff that was really hard and you will have to use custom renderers for some of this stuff. Well, this library provides that from scratch. So it's really easy to draw things and do custom controls. I think that on the past was really challenging, a challenging point while using Xamarin. If you want to do something like, for example, what we have on the screen there, a circle, you could use SkiaSharp. That was an option, and obviously these support SkiaSharp. But that's the whole idea of these Maui graphics, that you can do custom controls and any custom drawing very easily. So how we get started with Maui? Well, first we need to download NET 6, download Visual Studio 2022, use the upgrade assistant, and try out Maui preview. A couple of days ago, we already have that release candidate for Maui, so that's a recent news. So let's go to the demo. And now for the demo, I think I will have to switch to my other machine because I changed machines because of the connection problem I had. So give me a minute. Well, we can use this time maybe for questions. Any questions?
Yeah. Yeah, anyone feel free to even put the question on the chat or just even you mute your mic and just tell us. In the meantime, I will put in the chat a link about a session that we had in the Xamarin Expert Day, where they actually do a complete migration from your Xamarin font custom render to .NET MAUI 100. And honestly, one of the things that I like the most about Maui is the sharing resources. Being able to don't have to do 3 million images for Android, then all the ones that iOS require, then Windows, then Macs, you have all of them just in one place and the framework take care of. So it's easier for you. Okay, we have a question. Since this is built on .NET 6, will access to a MAL to build no longer be a requirement for iOS? Okay, so you will always have to access a Mac to do your builds at the end. The only difference is with Hot Restart right now, you can actually develop directly from your Windows to your iOS phone without having to use a Mac. Now, when you're going to be able, when you want to have that on and submit it to the Apple Store and everything else, you definitely need a Mac. There is no way around that.
Okay, I'm back. I switched machines, so I can share again.
You can always use Mac in the cloud for just this last step of building, deploying, and sending it to the Apple Store.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Then, okay, let's first try creating a new project to see the whole Maui experience. See if this is yes, this is the right Visual Studio. So first we search for Maui. Maui app preview. If you want to do a Blazor based .NET Maui app, this is the option you should use. But if it's not a Blazor one, if it's the default, this one is the template you should be using. So now if I create, okay, so we can see a couple of differences when you create a Maui project. The first thing we see is this platform folder. This is where you will have your native platform specific code. Okay, let me close this. In this folder. So for example, in Android, iOS, Mac, or Windows. Here we have the main activity, the case of Android, the manifest, info plist, any file that is related to the platform or native code that is platform specific. I think one of the things that maybe I forgot to mention is that it might be possible they unify these things, because if you see there's common in the info playlist, I think there's an opportunity there to actually share some of the stuff of the application. And I think that's the way that Maui is going. Let's see. So here, if we see the folder of resources, we can see that we have fonts. These fonts are shared across all the platforms. Also images. We can either have PNGs, CBG, or JPEG. And all the other things are really common in the sense that we already know about the app.cs. Is the same we have on Xamarin Forms. This one creates by default using Shell. I'm not a fan of Shell. I tend to use the traditional navigation, but I guess at some point Shell might be the way to go in the future, because I know that they are pushing that further, but they are providing both options. So you can, if you still decide to use the traditional navigation, you can do it as well. But there's something really interesting. If we look here, is file, Maui program. This is a new one. So this is where you will register your fonts, compatibility renderers, handlers, and all those basically stuff. This is the place where you will do any sort of registration, which is using kind of the same pattern of the host builder. And I think that's it related to the difference when you create a new project using Maui. So it's pretty much the same. The XAML doesn't change at all. Well, the only thing that changes is obviously the namespaces. We go here, we will see that I think it's using, I think it's this one is using somewhere the global usings, and that's why we don't see the usings there.
Yeah, by default, they are using those implicit using that if you actually go to your object folder, you will see them there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm not a fan about that one. Also, that's why I found this a bit strange. The reason I'm not a fan is because I like to be aware about the dependencies of the class. I don't like to use, I know it's really nice to use implicit and that way you don't have to have a bunch of namespaces, but seeing the namespaces make you aware of what that class depends on. So that's why I like the namespaces. So let's run this and let's see how it goes. Let me see, I think I have my Android. Android local devices, okay, it's right here. Well, this is other thing. As you can see, I have my iPhone connected to the PC, and also I have the Android here. So let's try first on Android. And let me use Visor to project my Android here.
Yeah, while that is loading, Rendy, we have a question about how IOC is different in Maui. I would say Net 6.
Well, if you're familiar, they are using the same pattern of the host builder. So it is really similar on how you deal with this on a MVC application, MVC SP.NET Core application. So it's kind of the same pattern of services. I think also the libraries, the third-party libraries, will actually support this because I know that the Xamarin team is in communication with all those library vendors so that they support this approach. But yes, here is where you will also register any services that you have. You can do it here, and the dependency injection will be handled that way. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. Jake, if that answered your question, just put it on the chat.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I think it's building.
So Jake added another question. Is there still a Xamarin Forms container?
Xamarin Forms container. I'm not sure what's referring to, if it's a dependency container or what exactly. Or it means about the dependency container that the dependency services uses. Just need some clarification there to see if.
Yeah, I think that he's referring to that without using any type of the IOC. I think the Xamarin Forms came with a built-in dependency injection container of its own.
Yeah, that's I think what the dependency service use and all those stuff. I don't think it's there anymore because the approach has changed into this. So right now the builder is how you will register the dependencies. And if you go here, let me see if I have the IntelliSense. You can also specify a custom container here if you want. So that's possible. And here you configure images, resources, services. So basically this is how you will register any dependencies or configuration in your project. But I don't think the Xamarin Forms container is still there, at least that I have knowledge of. So, okay, let me continue. And now this is the sample. So if I click, you can see it's there. So let's go here and maybe let's do some changes. Okay, so instead of incrementing, or maybe let's just change the test. Count, save. So now I have the option here to rebuild and apply changes. If I do that, it basically kind of recompiles very quickly and loads the application, but obviously more quicker than usually. So now I have the same, but now it says this is new. I think there's a problem with the sample because it is caught in the text. Maybe this is something that we can fix quickly. Let's see here. Where is the button? I think it's this one, counter label. Enter and expand. Seems it didn't pick the how to reload, how to restart. Let's see.
So in the meantime, Rendy, we have two questions. One is about shared resources, about the image that if they still have to create the same 1x, 2x, 3x for iOS and all the other configuration, SDAPI, and all the other ones for Android. And the question is not to put it in the shared resources and it takes care for you. And the other question is for Kristen about we don't need to have any version of DevExpress for this. This is completely Microsoft, but DevExpress have the Maui controls right now for free, so you can just download it and start using the grid and all the other controls that they offer in Maui.
Yeah, well, about the first question, the resources, yes, you don't need to use that XX or 2X. You don't need to use that. You can obviously still do it, but it's not necessary, and you will obviously just lose time because Maui already handles this for you. But there's a possibility to still include resources that way, if in case you want. I'm not sure why you will want to do it the hard way, but the recommended thing is to maybe SVGs for icons and stuff like that, so that it can be shared and it is scaled easily. But you don't need to do that anymore. You just need to put it here and it will get shared into all the platforms, and it will also be resized into the sizes that needs to be for each resolution, so automatically for you. But I do recommend to use SVGs whenever possible, but you can use PNGs and it will do the same. It will resize them and do that whole resolution, pick the right resolution for each platform. It will do it automatically for you on the background. And the other question, could you repeat it?
Yeah, the other question was about DevExpress, and DevExpress is not related to Maui. Maui is basically the framework to do the mobile and desktop app, but you can use DevExpress control that right now they are free for Maui inside your application. You can use the grid, you can use charts, you can use all the other ones.
Okay, so I guess you answered, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what's the label, but it seems that their sample is broken for some reason. Not sure if it's a Maui bug, because I even expanded this fill and expand, and it didn't work. So, but I just wanted to show that the summary is the same that we tend to use on summary form. It hasn't changed at all. So any questions about this? I was planning to also run it on the iPhone. Let's see if I can do it, but guys, doesn't seem to be pairing there. Well, let's just get back. I'll leave it there. And yeah, this is his connection. It's not. Let me just try one more thing. If not, we just go back to this. Yeah, that seems to be the IP. Well, let's just get back to presentation, and then we will see if that runs. Okay, so okay, so that was a bit of demo of just knowing how to create a Maui application, how it looks, what are the main differences. So here are a couple of questions that are very common. One of those is, should I use Xamarin Forms now or wait for the NET MAUI? I will say that you should use Xamarin Forms and then upgrade your project to .NET MAUI. And the reason is simple, is because even though they release MAUI officially tomorrow, it's something new. And usually it takes time to stabilize a product. For example, even with software upgrade, Mac OS or Windows, a new version, I don't tend to install right away. And I think it has proven a good approach because usually you can run into issues if you are the one of the early adopters of anything. So that's why I always suggest, okay, let's use Xamarin Forms, which is stable. Obviously, version 5 point, 5 point, the latest available, so that it's easier to upgrade to Maui once Maui is stable and we can trust that everything it's in a good environment, right? In a good. So will you migrate my solution to single project? Your existing projects should continue to work without having to migrate to single project. Actually, you can opt out of single project if you don't want it. So it's not something that it needs to be single project. There's documentation that allows you to update your project to a single project, but it's not a requirement. So you can either stay having multiple projects or migrate it to single project. But Maui won't do it for you automatically if you are in a Xamarin Forms project. So do I need to rewrite custom renderers? Your renderers will still work. You just need to register them on the host builder I showed there, and with compatibility, and that will make them work. Obviously, at the time you want to migrate them, you just plan and migrate them to a handler, which is the new approach. Will third parties UI libraries continue to work? Yes, but they need to at least target .NET 6. So if you are using any libraries that doesn't target .NET 6, then you won't be able to use those UI libraries in your project. But if it's at least targeting .NET 6, then you are good to go. Where I can follow the progress in the .NET MAUI repository, the official release date, April, May this year. They already do a couple of days ago a release candidate, but there's not still an official like the release. But that's where you will follow the progress in the repository. I have a couple of recommendations here, which are: do not start a production app on .NET MAUI yet, because of what I just told. Basically, this is something new. You should let it mature and see how it goes. At least give it, let's say they release tomorrow, at least give it 6 months. You can explore it during those 6 months, but not for a production application. That's my recommendation there. Update your Xamarin Forms project to the latest version. That's something that you should do today. If you haven't done it, it's a very important step, because if not, it will make things really hard when you try to migrate to Maui. Be aware about the libraries in your project, the ones you are using, because maybe those vendors haven't upgraded to Maui. So even though there is a migration path with Maui, if the libraries you are using are not migrated to Maui because are still using Xamarin Forms namespaces, then that will be a problem to migrate to Maui. So be aware about that in case you had to wait for those libraries to update, or even replace those libraries for others that those support Maui when you are doing a Maui migration. So I guess that's it. Let's see if we can get back to the sample. If it allows me to connect my Mac. Well, let's see. Actually, I can do it without the Mac, because we have the whole reload. So let's try that. No, it's the hot restart. Yeah, not the hot reload. Okay, use this one.
And that's what I was referring to before when we got a question, Rendy, when you disconnected for a second, about if we with .NET 6 won't need a Mac to build iOS. I was saying that with hot restart, we can definitely connect directly to the phone and develop there, but for actually send it to the Apple Store, we need a Mac to that big step.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But even to release to the store, there is a possibility to not use the Mac. If you have, for example, an App Center pipeline or an Azure DevOps pipeline that obviously uses a Mac on the cloud, but you can kind of get away of that requirement of needing a Mac to release to production, or even do a test flight build. So you can get around that now because of hot restart. So the Mac is not a full requirement anymore.
Yeah, that's a nice workaround.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. So let me see. I think it installed. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I forgot about that feature, and it's so cool because I was trying to connect my Mac, and I was, wait a second, I have hot restart. I don't need to connect my Mac anymore. Okay, so I think I can mirror my iPhone here. Let's do it. Okay. Not sure why it's not allowing me to mirror. If not, I'll just put my camera, the iPhone on the camera here. You can see it there. So it is connected to the PC. I deployed from my PC, and I didn't need a Mac for that. Also, I think if I do changes in the code, let's say account, save, reapplies this. It should do it quickly. Let's see how much it takes, but I know that at some point I was testing one of these Maui previews, and I was able to change this, and it didn't rerun the application. I'm not sure if that's not still not an official feature or something like that, but I was able to do it. Well, it is running now. So definitely deployment of changes, it's quicker. Okay. Let me see what else I can show you. If I create a new project. Any other question?
Yeah, there are a few in the chat. The first one will be a minimum OS version for iOS and Android. I think that was one of your first slides where you show what was the minimum version for Maui and Xamarin Forms.
Right. Let me get back to that one. Okay. Let me select the Blazor template just to show you guys what's that about. Okay. Yes, it was on my slides. Right here. After this one, I think. Yeah. So for iOS 10 or above, for Android, API 21 or above.
Perfect.
Any other question?
The other question is like if we can send them documentation about setting up App Center or DevOps for doing that Mac pre-development. I'm going to be honest, me personally, hot restart has working intermittently. It works sometimes it doesn't work. So sometimes for me, it's hard to just rely on the hot restart without no Mac at all. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's why I was trying to connect my Mac, but then I was like, oh, we have hot restart. The thing is that hot restart is not fully reliable. I guess that's part of this whole Maui official release, that they have to release this fully stable, because this has been a feature that has been there for a long time, and it has been kind of been mentioned for a long time, but it's still not that stable. So because of what I told, I remember one time I was doing this same sample, and I did one change here, and it didn't have to rebuild the app. I saw the change immediately, even if it was code change. So definitely they are still working things, because now I see that this is kind of a regression of what I saw last time.
And actually, if you guys watch the NetCon from Maui, they did a lot of code changes, not only SAML, code changes, and it was automatically. There's some type of diff that they take your IL and they inject the other part or something, because it was extremely fast.
Yeah, I actually saw that myself, but at some point, I'm not sure if the preview I have is the right one, the Visual Studio preview, but I know that it's possible to change code and you see it immediately. The thing is that this is not still stable. It's what I just said about the 6-month thing. You need to let this mature. Even if they release it officially, let this mature so that it is on a state that is reliable. because definitely this is a great promise, Maui, because of a couple of things that differentiate the framework, this framework from other cross-platform frameworks. Mainly the two things, or even I can mention three things that make it different. First, the single project. There's no other cross-platform framework that is single project. You have to have multiple projects. Even on the other cross-platforms, you have to have even native code. If you are doing really custom stuff that there's not a plugin for that, you will have to do in the native languages. In the case of Maui, you can do everything within C# in the same project. The other thing that Maui offers is the, I think I mentioned this here, the multi-window. Obviously, that's not kind of a really big thing because we usually don't support that multi-window, but it's good to know that it's the only framework that supports that support multi-windows in case you have a big phone or you want on desktop to support a multi-window application. You can do it with Maui. You cannot do it with any other cross-platform framework. So if you have that sort of requirement, Maui is kind of your only cross-platform option to do that easily. Obviously, you can do it with other frameworks, but you will have to do a lot yourself. Any other questions? Let me see the Blazor project in the meantime. Okay.
Yeah, there is a question about a good resource about like basically Maui project architecture like Xamarin Form has in the past. And I think that James Montemagno, he just bought a domain that it was called Maui.net Maui.dev, where they are going to start including sample Maui apps, a lot of architecture suggestions. So that's coming. I don't think that that's there yet. But definitely follow Montemagno, David Ortinao, and the .NET team Twitter, and they are putting a lot of information about .NET Maui. And it's gonna be coming more and more because I have to believe that Maui will be releasing the build in May.
Yeah, definitely. It has been almost 2 years. Well, I think so. Let's see. So this is the Blazor project. As you can see, we have the Razor pages there. Some common data services. This is all obviously boilerplate that the template creates. But the main part we can see here, it's here on the main page. You can see this is a Blazor web view. So this is kind of the entry point for Blazor. That's where this page actually hosts the whole Blazor UI. That's why I said that you could use Blazor in just one page, or you can use Blazor for rendering your whole application. It's your decision. You can mix and match if you want.
Yeah, and the great thing that even in the same page, even in that same page, main page.xaml, you can use the Blazor web view, but you can also add native functionality. You can start a stack layout and putting something else. You can do crazy things there.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And I actually saw someone in the community use that Blazor web view and inject some React or some Angular. I don't remember. And it didn't care. It displayed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really handy option that we now have that we didn't have before. So definitely it's something to be aware and to consider when building a new project. If it suits the requirements, maybe Blazor is your option. Okay, I'm trying to run this, but it seems it's taking longer. Well, actually, you can see here something interesting. This is what I was talking about, the builder, which is the same host builder pattern. So here we can see that you can register services. So you have that container. I'm not sure if that's The container that is used is the container that was asked before, which was the summary forms container, or I actually need to see in the documentation what container it is using. But I'm not sure if it's that summary forms container that was mentioned. I believe it's not. But here, as you can see, you can register services and use them for dependency injection. Register the Maui web view. So anything that you need to register in terms of dependencies or fonts or compatibility renders, here is the place where you will do it. I think it doesn't want to run Blazor for some reason. Any questions on the chat?
No, I think that we have answered all of them that we have had there.
Okay. Well, let me try one more time to see it.
Yeah, sometimes the demo gods are not with us. I always joke around that because I have seen Alan Ritchie show a really nice presentation, and I also have seen him live failing. Like every time he tried to present Chinese, it's just something break in that moment.
Yeah, well, it's funny because earlier when I started the talk, the reason why my connection was frozen is because I was building something on Visual Studio and it broke my whole machine. That's why I had to change machine to start the talk. Yeah, I guess we won't see Blazor today, but you can download obviously the Visual Studio preview that includes this. I think if you search for Maui, Maui Visual Studio, or I'm not sure if it's included maybe on the latest release candidate they did.
Would somebody send me flowers at work?
I saw a video that
But if it's not included on the latest, you can install this preview that does allow you to create the Maui template for Blazor or traditional Maui app. And here are some steps to follow. So I guess that's it. Let's see. I think I finished my slides. So thanks for your time. If there's any other questions, I'm more than welcome to answer.
All right, guys, if you have any other questions, this is the moment. Thank you, Rendy, for sharing your afternoon with us. I think that it's not afternoon for you. It's almost 9 p.m. or almost 10 p.m. on your side. So thank you for being here. This has been a great talk, a lot of great things coming up. Hopefully this is GA soon. Also, thanks for everything you do in the community, for the notification plugin, for all the talks, for the .NET community that you guys have over there at the Dominican Republic. Everyone else, thank you for joining in. Next month, we're going to be talking about Blazor architecture, and this is great because we're going to be able to use all those Blazor skills in Maui. Please go and try. Look, this is Maui Blazor running. I think we just saw it. We just saw it there.
Finally, it ran after all.
Yeah,
So
and you see that's the same file new example of Blazor, and you see it right now is with the mobile look and feel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And also it's a really nice sample because you can start from there. If you don't know Blazor at all, you can get familiar with it just by looking at this sample.
Nice. All right. We'll see you guys next month, and then we'll have a lot of more tax sessions coming over. We're gonna go more in deep in Maui when it's actually GA, and when we have more demos, we're gonna talk about notification, about DevOps, and so on. So please stay tuned. And of course, if anyone of the participants at some point want to present, happy, we want to grow the community. We want to talk about this for the .NET cross-platform. So thank you, Randy, again. Hopefully we have got you back in the next future. I know you're going to be a father soon, so that will keep you busy for sure the rest of the year. So, and thank you everyone for showing up. See you in the next one.